At TheLADbible, it was early days, and I won the company's Employee of the Year, and 2 months later I got fired.
Which was right from that?
Yeah.
Was the reason, if you don't mind asking?
Yeah, I was called a disruptive member of staff.
Welcome to another episode of Picking Brains, where we pick the brains of the most influential and impactful entrepreneurs. And today, I've got the pleasure of speaking to the founder of a full-service marketing agency, TWH Media, Tim Hyde. At the age of only 23, he is already an award-winning marketer, brand consultant, and a public speaker focusing on viral marketing and brand growth. He has worked for companies such as TheLADbible and Social Chain and really helping them massively with growth and their social engagement, including creating the top engaging live stream by a brand ever, accumulating 2.4 million, that's with an M, comments in just 2 hours. Not only that, he advises and has spoken in front of brands such as ASICS, UFC, Eurosport, Apple Music, Unicef, MyProtein. I could just go on and on and on and on, but I think it might be time for Tim to actually say something about it as well. So really, thank you for taking the time to do this. I know you're a busy man. So if you could just elaborate a bit sort of on your background story, how did it actually come about to where you are now, and how did you get into this sort of social media world?
Absolutely. So I left school at 18 after doing my A-levels, always wanted to be a journalist, so I did my national journalism exams, an internship called Mancunian Matters. I did that for 10 months and learned a hell of a lot about the real world. That was diving into the deep end. Working a lot for not getting paid as it was an internship. And then, funnily enough, there was actually a graffiti artist in Manchester called Axie who'd done some amazing graffiti work. I interviewed him about it, and his latest work, funnily enough, was in the TheLADbible's offices, and I tracked it down, interviewed the then sort of COO, Arian Kalantari, interviewed him about the piece. And then 2 months later, they offered me a job, and then that's how I sort of got into the TheLADbible, and that's how I sort of fell in love with being able to utilize social media, and it's gone from there.
So if you hadn't gotten an offer from TheLADbible, would you even have thought about going to university and stuff like that?
No, so I was pretty set on not going to university because I had family members who were also journalists, and they sort of they also knew that what was super important was having your NCTJs, not necessarily actually having a degree. So I was always pretty set on that, but without those sort of opportunities, I don't think I'd have ever got into social media. And I wouldn't be here today. I'd be sat behind a computer somewhere.
So, you've done internships in the beginning. You said you did a lot of free work. So, there's there's two sides to it. There's two different sort of people. Some people hate, unpaid work. And so I've done a whole year of unpaid work. What are your thoughts on it? Are you pro that?
I think it depends on the opportunity. I was quite fortunate that my mum could look after me and sustain me. I couldn't afford much at all, but the fact I did have a roof over my head and could afford to, for the opportunity, that was my version of university, and those sort of 10, 11 months of working 100 plus hours a week with the internship course, that was definitely a great spend of my time. I think in depending what business you're in, if you can afford to pay an intern, that should really be the way. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses really use them as cheap labor, which I'm pretty against. And you can really see that. Whereas some internships and apprentice schemes, even though they're not really well paid, the opportunities you do get are phenomenal. So I think you have to look at it case by case. I don't think there's a direct rule.
So after TheLADbible, you went into Social Chain.
Yep.
How did that come about? Were you actually searching for that job?
No. So at TheLADbible, it was early days, and I won the company's Employee of the Year, and 2 months later I got fired.
Which was right from that?
Yeah.
Was the reason, if you don't mind asking?
Yeah, I was called a disruptive member of staff.
That's a good tag to have.
I don't know. I was absolutely gutted, and since sought out counselling from it, that was a real traumatic time for me, and didn't see it coming. Spent every waking hour, and my manager at the time cried after when it happened. And I think looking back on it, I also would have never ended up in the position of being fired from TheLADbible. I mean, I still to this day think it was a ridiculous decision. However, like being accountable, I can see things that I was doing wrong or could have done differently. And so it's been a real good learning curve and growth moment for me, and also opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Although, do you mean, like, I think that whole like getting fired is super embarrassing, and like it took me a hell of a long time to be able to like be super honest about that. But like I would not be here at the same. I would not be in the same position.
It makes you reflect as well, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. And do you mean it is relatively embarrassing that you get fired from somewhere, whether it was just or unjust. But at the same time, like the people that learn from those, like there's also people in super senior positions that get fired or let go, and that doesn't have to be a reflection on you if you take that as a learning point. Do you mean I was 18, 19? Like I was definitely not as well or as close to well-rounded as I am now. And I just learned from it, and I took that on the chin, and it took me a little while to get over, but I certainly landed on my feet at Social Chain, and we grew that super, super quickly, pretty much learned everything I know today from those guys, and like, or at least taken that sort of structure that they gave, and then obviously applying my own sort of knowledge and my bits and pieces to it. So yeah, I think it's just part of the journey.
Do you feel like that disruptiveness actually like was an advantage going to Social Chain, that kind of that?
No, I mean, I think that was an excuse. Is my personal opinion on that, and I think because I was working really hard and because I'd been rewarded for working really hard, I think I stepped on some of the wrong toes. Right. From my opinion, anyway. Again, I don't think I was an angel, and I worked very, very hard, and probably could have been easier to deal with, especially at that time, but I think it is what it is, and I think learning, I mean, all the stuff I learned from TheLADbible, like how we game the algorithms, how we structured content, how we like really listen to the audience and stuff like that massively has like helped my career even now, and especially in the US where I do a lot of business. Like a lot of people haven't heard of Social Chain, but they have heard of TheLADbible, and so that's always a nice talking point, and like helping those companies grow and being part of those two journeys was an amazing experience. I learned a hell of a lot, met some great people. So I mean, I still look back on it fondly. It's just it obviously didn't end the way I wanted it to.
Of course. And in Social Chain, you actually worked alongside Steve Bartlett. How was that experience, and sort of what was the main thing you took away from him?
Oh, I took so much away. I mean, Steve's still one of my sort of best mates, a real phenomenal human. Unfortunately, I say this on a lot of podcasts, but he's still the smartest guy I've ever met. Like he really is next level, and that's through hard work, and also his like just inherently is also a pretty smart guy, and I think what I really took away was learning from their strengths and their weaknesses. Like if I thought they did something well, like double down on that, and this is how I'm going to do it. Or if they didn't do something well, I'd be like isolate that and be like, okay, if I was ever in that position, I would do it this way, and by that I've been able to like learn a hell of a lot, read some great books that have really changed my life. I'm in conversations with people that I wouldn't have had connections with. If I ever need advice, the team at Social Chain have always been super supportive, and I was super fortunate to get that job, and then obviously work hard, do well, and that's set me up for what's become.
And so why actually did you decide to go solo?
Well, I mean, so before I went, I left Social Chain for another agency called Agency TK, and for me it was really the right time. One of the main driving points was we spent a lot of time at that point educating CMOs, CEOs, CFOs on social media, and you could always tell where their background was from, whether it was SEO. You'd be in the middle of a 6-7 figure social pitch, and they'd be like, where's the SEO strategy? And you'd be like, SEO is super important, but that's also not what we do. You should have another agency that does that, or do that internally. And you could always see where a marketer's background was, and I wanted to be a bit more well-rounded, specifically in the media space, being able to understand the different values of different channels. And so I got offered a really cool role at a place called Agency TK. So I looked after a third of the agency globally. So I looked after TV, radio, SEO, PPC, and social media. And amplify that creative message. So that was a really interesting role. And that was okay, I can't really pass this up. And I wanted to be more well-rounded. And then only having to go through that experience, I really understood that I want to double down in social, because the social media space is actually huge anyway. And I think I spent a lot of time from a strategic standpoint, I'm pretty good at allocating budget and understanding how to get the best out of each channel. However, having an in-depth knowledge of being able to pitch, implement, review, report on all those things is super tough. And I'm relatively smart, but like knowing the nuances of all of that, it was probably too much.
That's experience mostly, isn't it? Yeah,
too much for one person, I think. And about 11 months ago, I launched on my own, and it's been pretty good.
Yeah. So, what do you sort of now that you've sort of gone solo? Like, what do you enjoy about it most in comparison to what it was when you were working with agencies?
I think flexibility of living, financial freedom, and just I'm super accountable. So like, if something goes wrong, I'll be like, that's my fault, and I can that's no one else's fault. That's me, and I can get through that and learn. And I think that's really great. Whereas at an agency, you have more balls to juggle. I just never had the ambition to grow it as a big agency. Like, I saw what we did at Social Chain, I saw how difficult that was, and my strengths are, I feel like I'm a really good marketer. I feel like I get the best out of various different social channels, put that into an entire approach. Whereas I didn't want to spend a lot of time worrying about overheads, worrying about forecasts, managing HR issues, managing staff who were really upset. That's a super important role as a CEO when you're growing a company, and to have like that much like fiscal responsibility. At 2022 when I sort of launched it, I was just like, no.
So how does your typical day then look like? Like, if you're saying it's quite flexible and stuff?
Yeah, it depends what I've got on. So like at the moment, there's sort of like checking how the ad spend's going across Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, things like that. Doing a little bit of LinkedIn targeting at the moment as well, which is still a bit pricey, but obviously it's a pretty premium audience. So just balancing that depending on the client work. I'm fortunate. I've got like some really cool projects on. So whether that's like phone calls and team calls with like businesses like TrueFan or Direct Heroes, or just other like Kickstarter projects that I've got on. That's my sort of day to day, is the sort of the real like execution of some of the marketing, and then others is, as any other agency, kind of new business meetings, meeting people, and trying to surround myself with some people that add value to my life. Yeah,
you mentioned TrueFan, so that's your like latest startup that you're sort of the CMO of.
Yes.
So how did it come about, and sort of what it actually is it? Like, what is it?
How did it come about? So in November, December of last year, I got to live in New York, and I lived in the same building as a guy called Elliot Robinson, who runs @Dunk on Instagram. He used to like head up growth for like Gary Vee, super smart kid, and a real close friend. And his roommate, who wasn't there at the time, is called Manu Goswami, who is the founder of TrueFan. So we were like mutually connected, got on really well, like respected what each other's done. He's super fucking smart. Like Canada 21 to 20, and next level intelligent, far more intelligent than I am. But we bounce off each other really well, and he said he was like, basically Chris Paul came to him and asked, you're a big into basketball, so you know who Chris Paul is, thank God. Honestly, the amount of
struggling in the UK.
Oh, no one knows who Chris Paul is in the UK. I'm like, top 15, top 20 basketball player. Okay. Definitely now. And so like he came to us, and because obviously they're traveling a lot, he wanted to know who his most engaged and most influential followers were in the US when they're traveling, so we could do meetups, giveaways, things like that. So we built that platform, which is really, really well, and really like doubles down on that whole community vibe. It's not just about having a vanity metric of how many followers you have anymore. Like, you want to have a super engaged community, and can obviously leverage them from a merch standpoint, and also can leverage them from other sort of marketing channels as well. But what we also did, we had that in place, and then sort of over the months with development, we also can now sort of aggregate opposition and competitors' most engaged followers. So for example, if you're Floyd Mayweather and you want to target Conor McGregor's followers for an Instagram post, say that's about 150 grand. That's a lot of money to like put all your eggs in that basket and hope that they convert, and to have that as a real sort of tangible return on investment. But whereas we can now aggregate those most engaged followers and extract them as a CSV and then market to them specifically. So that should be a huge tool. Really, we've got some amazing businesses on board as well. NBA are on board, UFC are on board. Like some huge partnerships as well, loads and loads of influencers. So we're just hopefully I think we're sort of 70-80% complete on our $1 million round, which is really cool.
Nice.
And that should be boxed off in the next 2 weeks. So that's just really exciting working with a super young team, super like energizing, motivated team. And, we've decided to call Vancouver our home, which, having just got back from there, is certainly not a bad thing. Really, really beautiful city, and hopefully we'll have that launched by the end of August properly, and really build those sort of first case studies with those big brands, and hopefully that should just pave the way for what should be a really big company. But a lot of things have to go in our favour for that to happen, and a lot of hard work and a lot of late nights to get there.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of things you're doing then. Like, would you even consider sort of going sort of full time on sort of TrueFan? Because it will take a lot of work to make sure that it runs smoothly, or sort of you love TWH so much that
TWH media is not something I'm passionate about. It just helps me get around things. Do you know what I mean? And I think I really enjoy marketing. I really enjoy the social media side, and I think that's definitely a potential. We also have like a consultant side to TrueFan that I'm heading up as well. So I think everything will kind of merge into one, but we've got to see how that plays out. But I mean, for me, everything's a business case. Like what gives me the best opportunity to be happy. For me, it's just about enjoying who I'm working with and what I'm working on, and having passion in those areas. And whatever gives me the best opportunity for that is where I'm going to go. So TrueFan's definitely already taken up a lot of my time, and that's how I've really allocated everything. And I mean, everything on top of that's a bonus.
I mean, talking about passion, I know you're really sort of, from your teenage years, really passionate about sports as well, aren't you? I mean, myself as well, obviously mostly basketball, but a lot of, with the Hoops Connect and everything, really trying to get the sports on board as well. How did sport, do you think, sort of really influenced you and affected you in sort of today's world?
So many ways. One, I'm super competitive, and that definitely comes from sport, or definitely comes from being the youngest kid on the block, playing football in the street. And I mean, that I think it certainly comes from there. I think leadership skills, accountability, understanding how to interact with different people, knowing the right way to say things to certain people. Some people you can shout out, some people like you need to sort of put your arm around the shoulder. Not that I shout at anyone, but do you know what I mean?
Sometimes you need to do that.
But do you know what I mean? That kind of approach really, really comes from sport. That drive, I think to succeed, super competitive, and success is really what I'm looking for, and that can be achieved in multiple different ways. But that whole sort of lacrosse, just changed my life and linked me to a lot of dealing with older people and understanding how to interact with them as well, which I think as a young person in an industry has been super important, because you are, as a young person, stepping on people's toes. And they don't like that. And if you come across as a dick as well, they're really not going to like you. And I think it's a strength and a weakness in myself that I really care what people think about me. And I've always tried to do things the right way and really care about how I come across.
And you mentioned success quite a few times now. So would you be able to define what success is for you? Because that's the way to heart.
100%. Like, success for me is happiness. That's what we're all playing for. Whatever you believe happens after life. Like, do you mean, without getting too deep? I think the best way you can spend your years is by being happy. That's the quality of life. Being happy, having a great perspective and a great outlook on the world are the things that make you happy. And happiness is those endorphins that are sort of released into your body, and that for me is really what you want to do. So I think that happiness is success, and I think that can be achieved not necessarily by financial things, but can be achieved by people you work with, having an impact on the projects you're working on, doing something that you're proud of, whether that's like something that's a record, something that was difficult, something that you're just happy you overcame. That's what I'm trying to focus on, and not after. And that's another reason why I wanted to go out on my own, is not to just constantly be in that agency role of money. It's just not really what motivates.
Now that's a question. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask every single guest I have on the show is, what's your definition of entrepreneurship? Because I've noticed that it's being so overused, and it's kind of like it's losing its meaning now.
I think so.
So I guess first, like, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur? And if you do, like, what's your definition of it?
I never did. After 11 months, now I'm starting to feel like, yeah, I've done this for a little while now, and I had some of those like stereotypical entrepreneur traits, and I quite like the freedom and the flexibility and willingness to work hard and things like that. But yeah, it's massively overused, and it's been glorified and glamorized, and to be honest, bastardized just by people showing off the lifestyle it can lead to. I think for me, an entrepreneur is someone that has a vision and is willing to do whatever it takes to fulfill that, whether that's building a business, whether that's having an impact on the world in a certain way. I think that's entrepreneurial qualities. I'm obviously sort of running multiple businesses or involved in multiple businesses that have those traits. But like, I just never grew up like wanting to be an entrepreneur. Like, I never thought I'd have my own business. Like, my parents don't. I was just never in that. And what, for me, how I found it was, it provided me with the life I wanted to live. It wasn't kind of like, oh, this is cool, like I see Steve or I see Gary Vee and I want to be that. It was kind of like, okay, I'm good at these things, how do I reverse engineer that? Oh, so actually doing it on your own and being able to just do the small,
and at some point it's like, oh look, I'm an entrepreneur.
Kind of, Do you know what I mean? You get super involved in the space and speak to other entrepreneurs and do keynotes and things like that, and you kind of get caught up in it. But I mean, it's not something that I really super push, because I do think the industry has become it's a bit cringy, or I mean, even identifying myself as a social media marketer is now not what it was 2 years ago.
Everybody wants to be that now.
And everyone wants to be an influencer, or they have a small social media marketing agency, and now I kind of look at it and going, work in marketing. And I've been fortunate enough to work for some big businesses and feel like I've done some shit. And try and say that in the sort of least arrogant way. Because you can be happened the other day. I was getting my hair cut. You can tell it wasn't that recently. I was getting my hair cut, and he was like, oh, what do you do? I work in social media, and like the guy next to me kind of said the same thing, and I just kind of looked over, and what he was saying was so far off the industry. I was kind of like, this is what I'm identifying with now. I'm part of that circle. That I've always tried not to be. I've tried to zig when other people have, I think, as well.
So, I mean, you've mentioned a lot of things, but overall, what's next for you? Obviously, True Fan is there. That's a big thing. Maybe even sort of just like, not necessarily business, but like what's next for you maybe in the next year or something like that?
I think I just want to be happy. So like that freedom of life, continue to travel loads. I think being able to experience new things is super empowering. Understanding like different walks of life and how different people do stuff, for me is like what I enjoy probably most.
Do you kind of plan, I plan a lot, or you just kind of like go along the way? Just
I think it's a bit of both. I think for me, you always want to leverage whatever opportunity you get, whether that's an interview, whether that's a trip down to London or a trip to Vancouver. Like, do you mean if you're in Vancouver, then what people can you be meeting? Like, what business can you be doing? Like, what coffee? Like, what places can you see? You want to maximize that opportunity. And I just look at life like that. Like, do you mean, right? I'm in Manchester now. What meetings could I have had today? Like, I'm paying for parking, so I might as well meet some people. And so that's my kind of outlook. And I think for me, like on an internal like perspective, is I just want to like execute to a high level on everything I've got going on. Like, either whether it's new business opportunities or like the stuff I really have signed is, like let's do what I promised and be accountable for like, hey, we can raise a load of money, or we can sign these great clients, or we can build something that's super powerful. And I think that execution is the hard part and the part that I really enjoy signing up for, because people try and, the word consultant gets through, like everyone wants to be a consultant because they think it's just a phone call and they get paid $300 an hour or whatever it is. Whereas I really enjoy seeing the conception of an idea or a product, a service, whatever it is, and how do we get to that end point. And that whole journey is fun because there's different highs and lows over that time period. And although I don't necessarily invest with I invest financially at the moment, like I choose to invest on projects with my time, and hopefully that pays some super big dividends financially and just from a quality of life standpoint. So that's what I'm focusing on.
So someone that's just starting out, maybe like a young aspiring entrepreneur, I mean, even though you're young, like you've gone through a lot already. What's sort of one take or one piece of advice you could give them?
Get an accountant. like you would not believe how much trouble people get into because of not paying the tax or just not understanding where cash flows and stuff. And so, I mean, find a business consultant, like accountant, that can sort you out, that you trust, that you can just message and go, hey, how do I do this? And they'll tell you. And that usually saves a lot of pain. I think just find like what you're really good at and double down on it. Not want to do everything, not kind of do stuff on a whim. I think be passionate about what you're good at and understand and build yourself and just continue to learn, like read books, read articles, ask your friends what you're doing, take that meeting, even if you've no idea what's going to come out of it, take it, because you would not believe how much business in the long term comes from Barry's grandma's auntie's friend's cousin, because you spent 20 minutes with them, or because you did a talk and one of them was at it, and that's not a new business strategy, but it's a new business strategy. Do you know what I mean? Not being a dick to people and doing those little things, I think really adds up over a long period of time, and that drives a lot of business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really good advice, mate. Lastly, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so Tim will Hyde on everything, and specifically Tim Hyde on LinkedIn. That's where I'm usually saying the most. Certainly been a platform that's been very good to me. But yeah, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks a lot for doing this, mate.
Thanks so much, mate.
I mean, Tim truly shows that being young in this business can only be a positive if you've got an open mind to being taught and inspired. That sort of really paves the way to success if you're willing to put in the work as well. Digital marketing as an industry overall really requires a lot of innovation and having an experimental mind, which Tim definitely has. And from the looks of it, it doesn't seem like it's going to stop. So I'm really excited what he's going to be doing next. And I'm sure we're going to have him, on this show, after a year or whatever, just to see how he's getting along. But for the time being, if you did like this video, please subscribe to get more interviews just like that from other inspiring and knowledgeable entrepreneurs. But for the time being, we're done. Thank you, Tim, for doing this, and we'll see you later.